The rules of traveling to Europe have changed. Starting in 2024, about 1.4 billion people from over 60 visa-exempt countries, including the US and the UK, are going to be required to have travel authorization or a visa to enter most European countries. It's called the ETIAS, which stands for the European Travel Information and Authorization System. So basically, if you're planning on visiting any of the countries that are colored blue on this map, you'll need to get this visa. So let's take a look at everything you need to know before this goes into effect in January. So first things first, applying for this visa. You can fill out this application form using either the official ETIAS website or the ETIAS mobile app. In order to apply, all you need is a valid passport that will not expire within the next 3 months and a debit or credit card to make the payment for the €7 fee. The application will ask you the following information. Personal information, including, your first name, your last name, date and place of birth, nationality, home address, parents' first names, email address, and phone number. Travel document details, details about your level of education and current occupation, details about your intended travel and stay in any of the countries requiring the ETIAS, details about any criminal convictions, any past travels to war or conflict zones, and whether you have been recently subject of a decision requiring you to leave the territory of any country. So that was a mouthful. That's a lot of information, but I'm sure it'll only take a few minutes when you're going through checking the boxes and typing stuff in. So once you fill out all the info and you pay the fee, you will submit it, and usually the applications are processed within a few minutes, but of course they could take longer. The max is usually up to 4 working days, and the only reason it would take longer than 4 days is if you're asked to provide additional information, documents, or you could even be invited to come interview, which really only happens in really rare cases. So just be sure you do give yourself plenty of time between applying for the visa and actually departing for your trip in Europe. Better to be safe than sorry. So once you hit the submit button, you should expect 2 emails. The first one should be right away, confirming the submission of your application, which will include your unique ETIAS application number. So make sure that you keep this number for future reference in case, something happens to your application, you have to call them. You're always going to need this reference number in order to talk about your application with anyone or check in on it. Once your application has been processed, you'll get the second email informing you about its outcome. So if you're approved, the email will have your ETIA, oh my gosh, such a mouthful, ETIAS travel authorization. So make sure to double check your name, your passport number, and all the other information. Make sure that it's absolutely 100% correct, because if there are any mistakes, you won't be allowed to cross the border. So you'll have to reapply for a new visa with the correct info. Because unfortunately right now there's no option for you if you did make a mistake, like just one letter is misspelled or anything like that. There's no way for you to go in and edit it. You just have to restart over the application with all the new information and make sure that this time it's really accurate. The good thing is it's only €7, so it's not too detrimental, but it is hopefully something that I think that they should be able to fix in the future once this gets rolled out and they kind of work out all the kinks. Hopefully you'll be able to edit in the future, but right now you'd have to do a new application. And if for some reason your application gets denied, the email will give you the reason why you were denied and will give you details on how to appeal the decision. But for the most part, if you don't have a criminal history, you should be approved pretty quickly, no worries. Your ETIAS travel authorization, oh my gosh, I cannot say this word. Your ETIAS travel authorization is valid for 3 years or until your passport that you use for your application expires. So whichever one comes first, and it's only for short-term stays. So you are allowed to stay up to 90 days within a 180-day period, which is the exact same allowance it's always been for Americans prior to this visa coming into play. So essentially nothing is changing there in regards to how long you can stay in Europe for. Now they're just making this visa for you to get there in the first place. So you do have to make sure that you have your ETIAS travel. You do have to make sure you have your ETIAS travel. Oh my God. travel. You do have to make sure you have your ETIAS travel authorization on you for your entire stay in case you get asked to show it again by police or at border crossings, which is honestly highly unlikely, but better to be safe than sorry. So what I would do is screenshot it, so if you don't have service for some reason and they ask you to show it, you can just pull it up in your photos. Since your ETIAS travel authorization is linked to your travel document, make sure to carry the same document which you use in your ETIAS application. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to board your flight, bus, ship, whatever you're taking to enter any of the European countries requiring the ETIAS. You have to have the ETIAS and the passport that you applied with, so that way they're both matching. So let's wrap this up with a quick checklist. First up, apply for the ETIAS travel authorization well in advance. Before you buy your ticket or book your accommodation, do this. Next, make sure your passport details match the details in your ETIAS authorization. Otherwise, if they don't, you won't be allowed to board whatever transportation method you're using to get into Europe. Or if they do for some reason allow you to board, you might not get in once you actually get to the border. So make sure those match up. Then make sure your passport is valid for 3 months after your intended departure from the European countries requiring the ETIAS. Otherwise, again, you won't be allowed in if it's not. All of this information from this video can be found on the official website of the European Union, which I'll link in the description below. So if you have any European travel plans in 2024, this is something to be aware of, and make sure you apply as soon as possible, as soon as they open up for applications, because you know there's just going to be a flood of applications and it might take a little bit longer. Now let's take a look at this incredible Swiss Alps experience in Lucerne, Switzerland that you'd need this ETIAS travel authorization for if you want to visit in 2024. Welcome to Switzerland! I'll be with you. So basically we're at the second stop. Like I said, we're just gonna explore a little bit, hike around. We're gonna take this little luge thing in a little bit. It opens up in about 5 minutes, so I'm super excited for that. It's essentially like, I think like a little slide? Yeah. Little toboggan type thing? I don't know, we'll see, but might as well do that when you're in the Swiss Alps. And then after that, we're gonna go all the way up there, tippity top of the mountain. And he's too short to touch the top of the mountain. That's okay. Okay, so that trail is where we came up to get here. This is where you can start the little slide luge thing. And apparently this whole black thing that was following the trail all the way down is the slide going through the Alps. I cannot believe that this is what we're about to do.